Hello!
Hello!
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I thought, try something new.
Welcome back to the Steve and Joe Show.
Yeah, my name's Steve, and he's here this week. Joe is here.
This week with added Joe.
Well, yeah, we couldn't have had any less of you last week, really, could we?
I was gutted. I wanted to be here.
So no show were good, though.
Yeah,
hope you check them out. If not, go and visit their pages, which are linked in the last video, and watch the last video if you haven't done so far. But welcome to the Stephen and Joe Show. And we're going to be discussing films and general stuff and games and
Films
general
and games and
stuff
and things.
and things. Yeah, the things are all important, right?
Where are we getting on to cooking again?
Yes. I blanched my melons over the weekend.
I think the less said about that, the better.
Hello, my name's Stephen and this is Joe, and welcome to our show. Week 3 of the show.
It is week 3. Nice.
Yeah. What have you been up to? You've just moved house, haven't you?
I have. I moved house. I have a nice big house with a living room for my TV, rather than having a 37-inch TV at the foot of my bed, which, although lovely, was excessive.
Yeah, I mean, it was getting really bad because when he watched Weird Science, he thought it was actually happening. That was...
Well, no,
that
was when I put my TV in my closet.
I can't think of any other films. Now I can. Poltergeist. That would have been a better film to use. It would have worked better in the whole week. I watched Poltergeist the other week.
Oh,
it was on TV, and I hadn't seen it for a long time. I bought the DVD last year, but it sort of sat done up, thinking I'll watch that at some point because I like that film. I just didn't get around to it.
Was it as good as you remembered it being?
I think it was, but then I remember seeing it when I was a kid, and in the same way that I remember seeing E.T. when I was a kid. Several times and kind of grew up watching it. So.
Okay. I really, really, really want to see Evil Dead and Iron Man 3. It's a good month for film.
It's a good month for film. Actually, I've suddenly started to get very excited about Man of Steel.
A lot of people are getting excited about Man of Steel. We were saying this.
Did you see the advert?
Like...
Did you see the new advert, the General Zod one?
No, I haven't seen that yet.
And I just thought the TV had broken for a second, so I rewound it and went, "What's that? What in God?" And there was noise and things. What's gone wrong with it now?
My name is General Zod. For some time, your world has sheltered one of my citizens. I request that you return this individual to my custody. To Kal-El, I say this. Surrender within 24 hours, or watch this world suffer the consequences.
And then he mentioned Zod, and then he mentioned Kal-El, and I thought, this is a trailer for Superman, isn't it? And that's what it was. It was, but it was really cool and worth looking up. And there's been a new trailer for Thor this week. It looks fantastic. I think it's going to be...
I'm excited for Thor. I think Thor's got enough of a... They didn't go too much into heavy plot. That may seem condescending.
Yeah.
I don't mean it to. But it was just a fun action-adventure film, and it worked like that. So it being... It having a sequel, I think the sequel will probably actually be as good as the first one.
I think it probably will be, actually. I don't think... Because for me, there were things that were wrong with Thor. And I didn't mind them so much. If you're talking about it critically, I'd point it out. But I didn't mind it so much because I knew where it was leading, I think. I had this idea that there was some sort of vision that was leading up to the Avengers. And that worked out. And it does fit in the canon properly. I just thought as a standalone film, it's got its problems. But it's now got some history that it can build on for a sequel.
You can now have a Thor adventure. Rather than we have to explain everything like the Bifrost and how that works as a theory and
and without spoiling anything, unless if you're don't want to know anything about it until October when it's out, then look away now.
As long as he's telling you, I'm going to put my fingers in my ears.
Loki's in it because he's in the advert, and Thor's in it because he's in the advert and in the title, and what's her name? Natalie Portman. I can't remember the character's name. Is in it, but she's not in the title. And there's going to be some fighting going on, so it looks really good. And that's what I learned from the trailer.
Good work.
Yeah,
I'm glad you watched that trailer.
Yeah, I am as well.
No spoilers.
This time I've been looking at. I think it's a very important film. It's by a director called Werner Herzog. And Werner Herzog typically does documentaries, and this is a documentary. It's called Cave of Forgotten Dreams. I've mentioned it to Joe several times. Have you ever actually managed to sit down and watch it at all? No. It's brilliant because basically about 35,000 years ago, some people were in this cave in France and they painted stuff on the walls. And we forgot about it because, 35,000 years is a long time in history, and we went off and did other things and thought we'd probably left the cave paintings down the back of a sofa somewhere. Well, instead of actually leaving them, they were all in this cave and they were all preserved. Now, nobody's allowed to go into these caves apart from a select group of scientists who are looking at the caves and are studying them for posterity. Well, that's a really great shame because it means that nobody gets to see all of this history that is our history. Yeah. But they did allow the documentary maker Werner Herzog to go and document the paintings that were in this cave. And it's a wonderful exploration of the caves and documentary about what these people are doing and why they're doing it. And it's lovely seeing it. It's lovely having that sort of experience. I saw it at the cinema in 3D. Wow. And that was amazing. It's the only time I've seen a film and thought this is a reason for 3D. This film is made better by the fact that it's in 3D. And it's purely because you're seeing something which is real and live, and it's the closest you can come to actually seeing it yourself, even though you will never actually be able to see it yourself.
So it's filmed in a documentary style?
Yeah, very much.
So it's kind of like an educational film, but more exciting than that because it's real history.
I think it's an educational film that you would watch if you didn't have to have an education. Because you and I, we haven't been to college school. We haven't had education for a very long time.
Yeah.
And I think at our age, and that's a very broad term. I think as soon as you get out of school and you start paying attention to things that you like, you go and find out about them, and that's proper education. And this was just something interesting enough for me that was.
But it's a factual documentary, so it doesn't have a narrative, a through story like you would have in a traditional film. No,
not in a traditional film. It's narrated by Werner Herzog himself.
Cool.
And you get his commentary on what he's doing and why he's shooting things as well, it's really interesting from that point of view. I would say it's probably the closest thing to an art house movie that I will ever recommend to anybody, because whereas I might watch some of that stuff, I know most people won't enjoy it. So I think it's worth seeing just because it's a bit of history.
It sounds quite inspirational in terms of not only our ancient history, but in terms of how do you film something like that?
Well,
that's
exactly.
such a journey, and
it is.
It sounds like they did a lot of research in terms of how everything got there, and
plus the people that they're documenting are the people who were looking into this.
Oh wow!
They're the experts in their field in these caves. Nobody else knows the same amount as these people. There is that sort of element of discovery as you're going on the journey with them, and I don't want you to lose that. But there's some wonderful moments in there where you round a corner and there's stone, and then you just see the camera pan around, and then there's just this image That's...
That sounds cool.
It's the age of the cave that the cave paintings in the beginning of Prometheus would be.
Solid recommendation.
Solid recommendation.
Very cool.
Even if you don't like documentaries. Cave of Forgotten Dreams is available on Netflix at the moment.
Oh, cool.
And it's out on general release on DVD and Blu-ray, and 3D Blu-ray if you've got a 3D TV as well. I still haven't played Skyrim.
Why have you not played Skyrim?
Well...
Has this just become a thing now?
I think it's starting to become a thing.
Don't let it become a thing.
It's starting to become an internet meme.
It's such a good game. You even own it.
I own it. I bought it.
You bought it for charity, you bought it.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I bought it for charity. That sounds like someone from Vietnam. I bought it for charity.
Charity's going to be upset that you didn't play its game.
Which video games have you been playing?
And I've been playing Prince of Persia, The Sands of Time.
Right.
Which was actually released a while ago. If you don't know about Prince of Persia, first of all, where have you been?
Because they've had a film and everything.
Well, not only that, the original Prince of Persia was created by a guy called Jordan Mechner, and that was released on the Apple II.
Yeah, and it was a massive game as well. Wasn't it?
It was huge. It was huge, but it was a side-scrolling adventure, very basic graphics. This is a long time ago. And it was just a really great tale.
You say very basic graphics,
literature.
But some of the movement that they had in it, because I remember that was released around the same time as a game called Another World, and they were both using the same engine to create.
It was a capture technology.
Yeah, and it was the first time they'd done that, and it did look amazing for the time.
I think Jordan Mechner used his. I think it was his little brother. That he actually captured his movements for the lead character for Prince of Persia. But later on down the line, they had tried to do sequels and they didn't do as well as the original. But very much later down the line in 2003, Ubisoft got hold of the property and they did Prince of Persia, The Sands of Time. And it exploded. It was very, very popular. It was released for the PlayStation 2. Loads of people enjoyed it. They did a sequel called Warrior Within, which was a lot darker and more gritty. The gameplay was better, but because the storyline was a bit over dramatized, people didn't relate to the character as much. It was a bit too much doom and gloom. And then they released a third one called The Two Thrones, not to be confused with Lord of the Rings. And they kind of mashed the two together, and it wasn't quite as good as Sands of Time, but it was better than Warrior Within. It had the better control mechanism, but kind of rehashed and kind of felt like a better end to it and created a trilogy. So those three Prince of Persia games were brilliant fun to play through. Just really good gameplay. That was the controls felt intuitive. Everything that you did felt fun, and I'll get onto that reason why in a minute. They then did a more recent Prince of Persia game that wasn't as well received, and attempted to rewrite a saga, and then they also did a Prince of Persia film. But the trilogy got a great treatment because it's a little while ago now, and they've done this with a few game series. It got released in HD for the PlayStation 3. So you play a prince who goes to Persia, and I know, stunning.
Deep plot thing.
It is a deep plot, but no. In the original, it was a kidnapped princess
and you were a plumber.
Fight your way
had to
up.
Go down these little things and throw.
Yes, stolen princess storylines were very prevalent in early video games.
Yeah.
What? With the more recent one, it was actually, it's called Sands of Time because there was a large hourglass that when it gets broken, the sands of time get spread everywhere. It infects the local populace and they become demons, shades of something else, and you had to fight your way through the Persian armies of demons, but in this ruined version of these beautiful Persian vistas. And the graphics are stunning, and the locations are really cool. There's lots of set things that are happening. Trebuchets and catapults firing over castle walls as you're running through courtyards. But the prince himself is a very acrobatic character. He's a very talented swordsman, and in very few button presses, you can backflip over the shoulders of the enemy, swiping up as you're moving forwards and swiping down as you come over the top of him in these beautiful ballet-like movements of martial arts. And it's great fun to play, to watch your character go through all these movements in very quick button presses. It doesn't take a lot of pressing in order to create something visually stunning, and it keeps it quite fresh, finding combinations of all of these moves that you can go through. It was just such a great platform experience and combat experience to tie it all together, whilst using just a really fabulous set of tools. And then the biggest thing is you get the Dagger of Time, which you use to collect the sands as you're going through the game. And what it allows you to do is to a little bit control time. So if you made a mistake in these platforming segments, rather than dying and reloading a few seconds earlier, as your character falls down the pit he's just misstepped into, you can just halt time and reverse it back to where you were and try again. Now, you only have a certain amount of sand with which to do this, and the more enemies you kill, the more sand you can have. So it's kind of, you are buying time a little bit, but it was really fun to be able to do what in some games, in a platforming game, you can get very frustrating segments. It meant that if you made a little bit of a mistake, it was very forgiving in that way. So again, although you are still putting in all the effort, and it still gives you time limits and ability limits to your skill, it just gives you that little bit of leeway, that little bit of forgiveness, which meant it was a more fun experience. So that was our show, our third show. Thank you very much for watching, and if you have some recommendations for us, or if you liked some of the recommendations that we gave you this week, check us and all of our links through Twitter, Facebooks, and all the usual kinds of places. You can find all the links usually down there somewhere. Steve will put them in and will tell me that they've been done.
Don't forget to subscribe as well.
Yes.
We love hearing from you. We haven't heard enough from you. Why haven't we heard from you?
Tell us why. Tell us why. But yeah, we'll see you next time, and we'll see you again soon. Take care.